The episode opens on a sunny afternoon at the cozy home of Tom the cat and Jerry the mouse. The camera pans to Jerry's mouse hole, where he is polishing a golden piece of cheese. But this isn't any ordinary cheese, it's enchanted. Legend says that anyone who consumes it gains temporary superpowers. Jerry smirks, imagining the possibilities, but little does he know, Tom has been eavesdropping. Tom, ever the schemer, hatches a plan to swipe the magical cheese. He dons a pair of spy goggles, grabs a gadget-filled backpack, and creeps toward Jerry's hole. Inside, Jerry, suspicious as ever, spots Tom through a mirror and quickly hides the cheese in a tiny safe behind a painting. The chase begins. Tom springs his first trap, a robotic mouse decoy to lure Jerry out. But Jerry sees through the ploy and sends the robot careening back toward Tom. The robot explodes in a puff of flour, leaving Tom covered in white powder and sneezing uncontrollably. Unfazed, Tom tries Plan B, a high-tech vacuum designed to suck up everything in Jerry's home. As Tom switches it on, chaos ensues. Furniture, paintings, and even Jerry's safe fly toward the vacuum. Thinking quickly, Jerry yanks the cord, causing the vacuum to reverse. The force launches everything back, including Tom, who lands with a thud in the kitchen pantry. The magical twist amidst the chaos. The safe pops open, and the enchanted cheese rolls out. Jerry grabs it and bolts, but Tom, now more determined than ever, gives chase. The pursuit takes them through the living room, up the stairs, and into the attic. They accidentally trigger a dusty, forgotten spellbook. A swirl of magic envelopes the cheese, and suddenly, both Tom and Jerry are granted superpowers. Jerry gains the ability to run faster than the speed of light, while Tom can now teleport. The two adversaries test their powers in an epic showdown across the house, zipping and zapping through walls, furniture, and even thin air. The final showdown, Jerry uses his speed to outmaneuver Tom, darting into a hamster-sized race car he keeps hidden in the basement. Tom, however, teleports directly into the driver's seat, leading to a high-speed, physics-defying chase. Sparks fly as they crash through walls and loop around chandeliers, leaving the house in shambles. In a climactic moment, Jerry uses his wits to trick Tom into teleporting into a laundry chute. Tom, stuck in a spinning washing machine, can only watch as Jerry scurries away with the magical cheese. The resolution as the magic begins to wear off, Jerry finds a quiet spot to enjoy his treasure. He takes a small bite of the enchanted cheese and hides the rest in a secret location, just in case. Tom, now free from the washing machine, sulks in defeat, but can't help but plot his next attempt. The episode ends with Jerry winking at the camera, holding a sign that reads, "Better luck next time, Tom." The camera zooms in on Jerry's mouse hole, where Jerry admires his enchanted cheese under a beam of sunlight streaming through the window. He's reading a tiny scroll he found alongside the cheese, which says, "One bite for power, but beware, too much and you'll share." Jerry chuckles, thinking the warning is just a joke. Meanwhile, outside the mouse hole, Tom is crouched low, peeking through a pair of binoculars. His ears perk up at the sight of the glowing cheese. "Cheese that makes you powerful, huh?" Tom whispers. "That'll make catching Jerry a piece of cake." Tom retreats to his corner of the kitchen, where he begins assembling a complex contraption involving a spring-loaded catapult, a fishing rod, and a basket of cheese decoys. Tom launches the first stage of his plan, a parade of decoy cheeses leading directly to a trap. Jerry, always cautious, sniffs the first decoy but notices something off. It's made of plastic. He smirks, carefully attaching the decoy to a mousetrap, which springs back and smacks Tom square in the face. Looks like the cat's out of luck. Jerry squeaks with a laugh, dragging his magical cheese back to safety. Tom doesn't give up. His next plan involves creating a maze of glue traps across the living room. Jerry, carrying the cheese on his back, finds himself cornered. Just as it looks like Tom has finally caught him, Jerry notices a fan nearby. He pushes it over, causing the glue traps to fly and stick to Tom instead. Trapped in a sticky mess, Tom glares as Jerry escapes again, leaving behind a trail of cheese-scented dust. But this time, the enchanted cheese reacts. Its glow brightens, releasing a wave of magic that fills the house. Tom and Jerry both freeze in astonishment as they are suddenly granted their extraordinary powers. The middle of the episode becomes an all-out, high-energy showdown as Tom and Jerry test their newfound abilities. Jerry zips around the house, becoming a blur of motion. He rearranges furniture to block Tom, builds a barricade of books, and even ties Tom's tail into a knot, all in the blink of an eye. Tom teleports from room to room, trying to anticipate Jerry's next move. At one point, he appears in the fridge, covered in ice cubes, only for Jerry to slam the door shut. The chase escalates when Tom teleports into the attic and finds an ancient mirror. Realizing it amplifies his teleportation abilities, Tom grins mischievously. With the mirror's help, he begins creating afterimages of himself to confuse Jerry. Jerry, realizing he's outnumbered, devises a clever plan. He builds a decoy cheese and leaves it in the middle of the kitchen. Tom teleports to grab it but accidentally sets off a Rube Goldberg-style trap involving pots, pans, and a giant rolling pin. Just when Jerry thinks he's safe, the cheese starts to behave oddly. It begins to levitate and glow brighter. Suddenly, the cheese splits into two identical pieces. Jerry is shocked, but then he remembers the scroll's warning. Too much and you'll share. Tom, noticing the second piece of cheese, teleports to grab it. Jerry lunges for it at the same time, and the two collide in midair. The magical cheese reacts, sending out another burst of energy that creates two magical clones of Tom and Jerry. The house becomes a madhouse as the original and clone versions of Tom and Jerry chase each other in a series of wild antics. The clones, however, are even wilder than their originals, causing even more destruction. Eventually, the clones disappear as the magic begins to fade. The house is quiet too quiet. Jerry relaxes in his mouse hole, content with hiding the now-deactivated magical cheese. Tom, however, can't let it go. He sits in his corner with a sketch pad, brainstorming ways to swipe the cheese. A new idea sparks in his head. If the cheese's power is fading, perhaps he could reactivate it. Tom sneaks into the attic again, flipping through the spellbook he accidentally triggered earlier. His eyes widen as he finds an incantation. Return the power to what lies within and claim its magic once again. Tom grins wickedly, thinking this spell will make him unstoppable. He quickly grabs the book and sets up a makeshift laboratory in the basement, complete with candles, a bubbling pot, and various kitchen items he mistakenly thinks are magical artifacts. Meanwhile, Jerry starts to sense something is wrong. He peeks out of his hole and sees Tom sneaking around the house, carrying strange items. Curious, Jerry follows him into the basement and hides behind a stack of boxes. To Jerry's horror, Tom has already started chanting the spell. The words echo ominously, and a swirling vortex of energy begins to form around the magical cheese. Jerry knows this can only mean trouble. Just as the spell reaches its climax, Jerry leaps into action. He grabs a slingshot and fires a pebble at the book, knocking it out of Tom's hands. But it's too late. The magic activates, creating an explosion of light. When the dust clears, Tom and Jerry realize the cheese has grown to an enormous size, glowing brighter than ever. The vortex has also created a portal in the middle of the room, sucking in random household objects. Meow-che-che. Tom cackles. Now the cheese is mine. He lunges for the gigantic cheese, but as soon as he touches it, the magic zaps him, sending a shockwave through the house. Jerry watches in astonishment as Tom is transformed into a hulking, supercharged version of himself with glowing green fur and lightning crackling around him. Tom, now massively overpowered, tests his new abilities. With a single swipe of his paw, he smashes through a wall. His voice booms as he declares, "No more games, Jerry. The cheese and you are mine." Jerry, now more determined than ever, grabs a piece of the still enlarged cheese and takes a cautious bite. The cheese's magic works instantly, granting him the power of invisibility. Using his new ability, Jerry zips around the basement, dodging Tom's lightning-fast attacks. The battle escalates as they fight for control of the magical cheese. Tom uses his newfound powers to hurl bolts of energy, turning furniture into piles of ash. Jerry narrowly avoids getting zapped, using his invisibility to sneak behind Tom and set up traps. Jerry rigs the basement with mousetraps, tripwires, and makeshift catapults. In one hilarious moment, Jerry tricks Tom into stepping on a tripwire that launches a bucket of paint onto his head, temporarily blinding him. As the battle rages on, the cheese begins to glow brighter and brighter, pulsating with magical energy. Suddenly, it sprouts legs and eyes, coming to life. Both Tom and Jerry freeze in shock as the now animated cheese declares, "Enough." Its deep, booming voice shakes the house. "I have granted you both powers," the cheese says, "but you have only used them for chaos. Now you must prove you are worthy or face the consequences." Tom's master plan after losing the Enchanted Cheese's power, Tom sits in the backyard under the moonlight, rubbing his chin. He refuses to accept defeat. He recalls the spellbook in the attic and wonders if there's more to its magic. With newfound determination, Tom sneaks back into the attic, where the dusty spellbook lies open on the ground. He flips through the pages until he finds an advanced spell, Cheese of Eternity. Harness its ultimate power by uniting light and shadow. Tom grins wickedly. "If I can't have the cheese's power outright, I'll make it follow my rules." He grabs the book and starts preparing. Jerry's counterattack Jerry, however, is no fool. Watching Tom scurry around with the spellbook, he knows something big is coming. As Tom gathers magical items, candles, mirrors, and even an old cuckoo clock, Jerry sneaks into the attic. Using a magnifying glass, Jerry deciphers the spellbook's instructions. He realizes Tom's plan involves creating an entirely new enchanted cheese. Alarmed, Jerry knows he has to stop Tom before it's too late. The Cheese of Eternity ritual later that night. Tom finishes his ritual in the basement. He places a chunk of regular cheese in the center of a magical circle, lights the candles, and begins chanting. "Cheese eternal, hear my plea, grant me power endlessly." The ground shakes as beams of light shoot out from the circle. The cheese glows, rising into the air and transforming into a shimmering, golden wheel. Tom's eyes gleam with greed. "It's mine," but just as he reaches for it, Jerry swings into action literally. He ties a string to a chandelier and swoops down, grabbing the Cheese of Eternity midair. The Great Escape, what follows, is one of the most chaotic chases in Tom and Jerry history. Through the basement, Jerry swings from pipes and scurries through Tom's makeshift lab, sending vials and bubbling potions flying everywhere. One potion explodes, turning Tom's fur bright blue. Into the kitchen, Jerry dives into the fridge, hurling eggs, butter, and a full gallon of milk at Tom. The slippery mess causes Tom to slide uncontrollably, crashing into the pantry. Out into the backyard. The chase spills outside, where Jerry cleverly uses garden tools to fend off Tom. At one point, Jerry hides inside a watering can, spraying Tom directly in the face. The glowing Cheese of Eternity becomes a beacon, lighting up the neighborhood. Stray cats and dogs from nearby homes gather, all hypnotized by the cheese's allure. The rivalry intensifies in the midst of the chase. Tom and Jerry find themselves surrounded by the stray animals. The creatures close in, ready to snatch the cheese for themselves. Realizing the danger, Tom and Jerry are forced into an uneasy alliance. Jerry uses his speed to distract the animals while Tom teleports to a safe spot with the cheese. "Don't drop it, Whiskers," Jerry shouts as he narrowly avoids a dog's snapping jaws. "Just keep them off me, rodent," Tom replies, struggling to balance the glowing cheese on his back. The final confrontation after escaping the stray animals, Tom and Jerry make their way to a nearby park. Exhausted but unwilling to give up, they finally face each other under a giant oak tree. "This ends now," Tom growls, his claws extended. "Bring it on, furball," Jerry retorts, holding the cheese of eternity like a sword. The battle is an epic showdown. Tom uses his teleportation powers to ambush Jerry, but Jerry counters with clever traps made from branches and leaves. Jerry takes a bite of the cheese of eternity, gaining temporary flight. He zooms around Tom, taunting him from above. Tom retaliates by hurling acorns and sticks, eventually knocking the cheese out of Jerry's hands. As the cheese rolls toward a nearby stream, both of them dive for it, colliding midair and landing with a splash. A shared victory as the cheese of eternity sinks into the stream. Its glow fades. The water sparkles briefly before returning to normal. Tom and Jerry sit on the riverbank, drenched and defeated. Jerry breaks the silence. "So, now what?" Tom sighs. In the quiet suburban neighborhood, dawn broke to reveal an unusual sight. The once familiar backyard had transformed overnight into an untamed, lush jungle, its roots intertwined with magical energies that had seeped into the soil. Flowers mutated to display snapping jaws, vines spiraled like serpents, and an immense tree shaped like cheese stood at the center, emitting a mysterious glow. Jerry, the tiny mouse with big ideas, spotted the tree first and dashed outside, his heart set on the golden, shimmering cheese spinning lazily amongst the branches. But Tom, the cunning cat, had also awakened, drawn by the unfamiliar gleam lighting up the garden. As Jerry approached to seize a cheese wheel, the tree shook to life, animated by hidden magic, its vines slashing through the air menacingly, driving Jerry back. "Up early for breakfast, rodent," Tom taunted, striding into the garden, animated by mischief. "Hope you're ready for the chase of your life." Tension crackled as Jerry, eyeing the prized cheese with determination, replied, "The cheese is mine, Whiskers, fair and square." The chase escalated into a chaotic frenzy through the oversized vegetation, each twist presenting new hurdles. Jerry skillfully darted through the writhing maze of vines, only to encounter Tom at a dead end. Yet a snapping flower captured Tom's tail, triggering a mayhem of swinging vines that entangled both adversaries. Escaping the clutches of the garden, Jerry landed amidst the gourd geysers. As pumpkins burst into churns of magical orange goo, Jerry wisely utilized their explosive force to spring onto a branch. Tom, failing to emulate Jerry's agility, found himself an unwitting canvas for pumpkin splatter. These antics awoke the cheese guardians, spirited defenders of the tree's bounty. These diminutive, animated cheeses launched tiny but formidable strikes. Jerry cunningly trapped one within a liquid puddle, while Tom weaved through their assault with teleportation, bewildering the unyielding guardians. Despite the enchanting conflict, it became clear the tree replenished cheese faster than either could claim, a never-ending fountain of golden delight. A truce was proposed, albeit grudgingly, leaving ambitions aside to prevent the garden's dominion from escalating further. Handshake turned into a formidable alliance. Tom and Jerry orchestrated a diversionary strategy. Jerry lured the guardians away with raucous antics, while Tom teleported into the heart of the tree, seeking its glowing core. The mission was fraught with peril. Jerry's distraction engaged the guardians across trampoline-like mushrooms, his nimbleness barely escaping their numbers.